Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing On Being in Essence, Chapter 3, how essence is related to genus, species, and difference. Okay. First, we have signification and universals. Because the genus and difference both signify the whole being is indeterminate, neither signify an actual part. Now, this is important because the entirety of an individual person is a human, or the entirety of the person is rational. Rationality is a distinguishing feature of humans, and it's the difference which marks humans off from other animals. But when you designate a person as rational, you aren't designating a part of them, you're designating the entire person. Just some parts of the person are left indeterminate by the designation rational. Same with animal. Then we have two ways of considering the universal man, or the idea of man. First is humanity considered absolutely in itself. This is only those things which are included in the idea of man. So rationality, animality, being corporal, having an immaterial soul. All of these things are included in the idea of man as such, man considered in itself. This does not include singularity. Otherwise, all humans would be identical to all humans, or humanity would be identical to every instance of itself. And it doesn't include multiplicity, because otherwise each man would be multiple. Each man would have this idea of multiplicity in himself. So when you think of the idea of man, what's important here is that man is not tied to a specific number. You can have one man, or you could have multiple men. Neither one is essential to the idea of humanity. Then you have humanity considered as individual. In this way, it includes all of the accidents of a specific man, and it also includes both mental and individual or non-mental existences. So if you think of your idea of man versus the man of an actual living person, or the humanity of an actual living person, these are different kinds of things, but they both have the essence of man present in them. You have the idea of man, which is man as a mental existence, and then you have man in a specific person, which is man embodied. Then we have universality in form. Man, as understood by the intellect, abstracts from all particulars of different men. This equally applies to all men. When you take man, or humanity, and you remove from it all of the particular aspects which make it this man or that man, which make it Socrates, or Jared from Subway, then you have this perfectly common idea which applies to all men. And as such, it will give you some knowledge about all men. The prime example of this is the idea that men are mortal. Every man is mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. Because the idea of man is truly predicated of all of these people, and because there's like a thing in each person which is similar, you can generate this knowledge about every man in existence, not just the men that you've interacted with. Averroes has this inference from this universality of the idea to an actual unity among all men, where he's going to argue from the fact that we have this idea which applies truthfully to every man, to the fact that every man is actually the same thing. Aquinas says that this just ignores the reality of the situation, and he says that we have an idea which applies truthfully to all of these different objects because we have removed all of the differentiating features. And of course, if you remove the differentiating features, then the thing which remains is going to be common. Then finally, we have this idea of second intentions. These are ideas about ideas. So you have first intentional ideas, and then you have second intentional ideas. A first intentional idea is an idea about an object. My idea about the book on my bed named The Works of St. Bonaventure 3, Disputed Questions on the Mystery of the Trinity. That idea is a first intention. It points out of the mind to an object. Then you have second intentional ideas. These are ideas about ideas. So my idea of man is a second intentional object. My idea of man is universal is second intentional. It is an idea, not an idea about a thing. This is going to be very important, because if my idea of man is a first intentional object, then every man is the same object because the idea is the same. Importantly then, the idea of species and genus is that of a second intention. It's an accident to the idea of man as such. So you have this idea of man, and then you have the idea that man is a species. Socrates is not a species. That makes no sense. But there is a species which Socrates falls under, which is man. So the idea of species is accidental to the idea of man. It's not essential to it, because the idea of species is a second intention, and you don't have second intentions in actual objects. There isn't like the idea of species in your human nature. Yeah, I hope we learned something.